Nigerian troops have killed at least 95 members of an armed criminal gang in a shootout and airstrike, according to a situation report shared with the United Nations. The report, produced by a private conflict monitor, says the troops foiled an attempted attack on Tuesday in the northwestern state of Niger. According to a statement by the Nigerian military, forces engaged terrorists that neutralized many. However, one soldier was killed. Armed gangs who have taken root in Nigeria's rural hinterlands raid, loot and burn villages, exact taxes and kidnap for ransom amid poverty and government neglect. Violence has spread from the northwest into north-central Nigeria with increasing cooperation between criminal gangs and insurgents. Last week, motorcycle riding bandits killed 9 farmers and kidnapped around 15 others in Zamfara state. So far this month, Nigerian soldiers killed at least 150 bandits in an ambush in northwestern Kebbi state, according to a local official. Well, let's now bring in Kabir Adamu for more analysis on the security situation in Nigeria. Adamu is the National Security Policy and Strategy Specialist in Nigeria and the Sahel region, as well as the Managing Director at Beacon Security and Intelligence Limited. Kabir, thank you very much for joining us on the program. How bad is banditry across Nigeria?
Unfortunately, it's extremely bad, especially in the northern parts of the country. As you move away from the city centers into the rural part of Nigeria, most parts of northern Nigeria are afflicted by banditry, where groups raid villages, block highways sometimes, and continuously attack villages. Just like you've indicated in your report, there are ongoing military operations to stop them. But unfortunately, these military operations have not succeeded in preventing them. They have limited their capacity to operate, but they are still operational. When we released our report for June 2025, we identified 6,800 persons killed between January and June 2025. So yes, banditry is extremely an issue of concern in Nigeria.
So what are the root causes exactly of the rise in banditry, and what is the government doing to deal with that situation?
The root causes are issues that have to do with the political challenges, such as governance deficit, environmental challenges, especially climate change and its consequences that is affecting livelihoods, then socio-economic issues that have also affected livelihoods, and then, of course, security gaps that are allowing these groups to dominate spaces, especially what we call ungoverned spaces in Nigeria. These are forested parts that do not have any form of authority in them, and so these groups dominate them and use them as their operational bases. With regards to your question on what government is doing, Nigeria has a federal structure. So there's the federal government, the state government, and all levels of government are involved in different forms of security operations. So the federal government, using military tactics, has engaged in different security operations. In the Northwest, as an example, a new operation was started late last year called Operation Fansanyama, and it's achieving remarkable successes. The 150 plus bandits that were killed was under that operation. At the state level, state governments have created security structures that are also going after the bandits. Unfortunately, the gaps that remain are gaps around the ability of these groups to obtain weapons and ammunition, their ability to recruit new members, their ability to influence the eco-space where they are operating, especially the villages that I mentioned earlier on. Those are really where the gaps are at the moment.
And what exactly is the difference now between banditry and terrorism, and what can authorities do to minimize the spread across Nigeria?
So Nigeria has a Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act. It was a law that was amended in 2022, and it defines what terrorism is in Nigeria. Now, there are, of course, as you know, the definition of terrorism, it brings a lot of controversy. So the same thing in Nigeria, in spite of the existence of this law, there are certain misconceptions regarding who is a terrorist and who is not a terrorist in Nigeria. But the law is very clear about what is a terrorist act and what is not a terrorist act. Now, more importantly, there is what is called a Sanctions Committee, which is chaired by the Attorney General of the Federation, and he has the responsibility to receive petitions and complaints, and then, of course, go to a competent court of jurisdiction to determine who a terrorist is in Nigeria. And that's where we are at the moment. Some of these bandit groups have been identified as terrorist groups, while a significant number of them remain bandit groups and are not terrorist groups. The difference usually is in the, the objective. Are they politically organized? Are they trying to achieve an objective? Are they using third parties to achieve, whatever interest they're trying to achieve? That's really the major difference in terms of the definition of who is a bandit and who is a terrorist. Most of the bandits are not politically organized, while terrorist groups in Nigeria are politically organized. Another important point is the affiliation of terrorist groups with global franchises. So terrorist groups will be affiliated with Al-Qaeda, they will be affiliated with perhaps the Islamic State, but then where you see bandit groups, the affiliation is usually for a specific purpose. So maybe they can contract them to engage in criminal act. But in terms of that global affiliation, you rarely find it among the bandit groups. There are one or two bandit groups that are affiliated to the major global franchises, such as Al-Qaeda or Islamic State, but the significant number of them do not have that affiliation.
All right, Kabir Adamu joining us there from Nigeria. Thank you.